And your next witness?
The state calls Annette Turek.
All right, Miss Turek. Good morning.
Good morning.
If you can pause right here and raise your hand, please, so I can swear you in.
Witness duly sworn to testify truthfully.
I do.
Okay, thank you. If you can come around and watch your step.
Okay.
And if you could do your best to keep your voice up.
Sure.
Everything is being recorded.
Okay.
State.
Thank you.
Annette Turek, a witness herein, being first duly sworn, was examined and testified as follows. Direct examination by Miss Babcock's Poole.
Miss Turek, please identify yourself for the record.
Annette Turek.
And for whom do you work?
The U.S. Postal Service.
How long have you worked for the U.S. Postal Service?
36 years.
Okay. And currently, which post office are you assigned to?
Belvidere.
Okay. And do you know that post office to be in Belvidere, Illinois?
Yes.
In Boone County, Illinois?
Yes.
Okay. I want to draw your attention to May 18th, 2021. Do you remember that day?
Yes.
Why is that particular day memorable for you?
Because we had, unfortunately, an incident with a customer that did not want to leave the premises after they were done with their business, and we had asked them to step aside. They wanted to talk to, the woman wanted to talk to a supervisor.
Okay. Let me stop you there. The woman. Do you know who the woman was that you engaging with?
Yes. Beverly Wigginton.
Okay. How did you know it was? She was Beverly Wigginton.
She has, or had had a P.O. box at that time, and she had made several complaints previously that she did not want to wear a mask in the post office.
Okay. So you had seen her before?
Yes.
And how many times do you think she had complained about not being able, or having to wear a mask?
Objection. Relevance. I don't see what this has to do with my client.
Your Honor, for disorderly conduct, context is particularly important. Past interactions are significant to disorderly conduct. Indeed, Beverly is not the defendant's. However, I believe in later testimony you are going to hear that she was one of the parties that brought Mr. Wigginton back into the post office itself, so I think prior encounters with her are relevant.
Okay, I'll overrule the objection. I think it also goes to how she knows or how well she may know Beverly Wigginton, so I'll allow her to answer. If you want to re-ask.
Sure.
By Miss Babcock's Poole.
On how many prior occasions had Beverly Wigginton complained about having to wear a mask?
I would say at least 3.
At least 3 times. Okay. On those occasions, did she bring anyone into the post office with her?
Not that I recall.
Okay. Now coming back to May 18th, 2021, did Beverly Wigginton come into the post office?
Yes.
And was she alone?
No. She was accompanied by a teenager. I would assume it was her daughter, but I'm not positive.
Okay. So what did Beverly do when she came into the post office?
She came up to be waited on. I called her over and I remind her of our policy at this time. At that time was still to be masked up, and that in the future, if there was more people in the lobby, I would have to ask her to step aside and have a supervisor help her further away from the other customers.
Okay. Was she mailing something? What was she?
She was mailing. She was wanting to drop off a prepaid labeled box, but unfortunately she didn't have the right weight on it, so I had to calculate the difference between the postage. It should be in the postage she actually had on the package, and then she did pay for the difference. And as far as the, comment about reminding her of our policy, she said she wanted to speak to a supervisor.
Okay.
So,
at that point, did you call a supervisor?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Did Beverly stay then near you or inside the post office?
She was inside the post office, close to our drop boxes for the letters inside.
Okay. What about the young girl with her? Was she?
Well, she was there, but then when something had come out, she did run outside of the building and then came back in.
Okay.
With the
Okay.
Mr.
And when she came back in, was she alone?
No.
Okay. Do you know who she was with?
I didn't know who it was at the time because I had not seen him prior to be in the post office.
Okay.
I had not had an encounter with him at all.
Okay. Do you see the individual who walked in with the young girl in court today?
Yes, I do.
Okay. And do you know him to be Richard Wigginton?
Yes, I do now.
And can you describe an article of clothing he's wearing and where he's seated?
He's seated at the front desk up here with a blue shirt on.
Okay.
All right. The record will reflect the in-court identification of Mr. Wigginton.
I Miss Babcock's Poole.
And Miss Turk, when Richard Wigginton came in, what did you see him do?
He had a phone that was on video facing toward our front counter. I had asked them to please put it down because we are supposed to protect our customers' private payment information, and we're instructed through our training not to allow anyone to stand with an upright photo, video taking on the phone that they possibly could obtain someone's information.
Okay. When he first came in, how close did he get to you?
When he first came in, he was on the other side of the island.
Okay.
Okay.
And did he have his camera up at that time?
Yes.
Okay. And can you describe the layout of the inside of the post office for me, including that island?
Sure. When you come in, the front doors to your right is the part of the post office that you would get in line to wait to be waited on. And in between that line and the front counter is the island, and then the front counter consists of 3 stations for us clerks. And then as you're leaving in the front counter on your right-hand side would be a blue door that we use to bring customers sometimes that need to have something looked up, or it's an employee access locked door we can go in and out of to get to the front lobby, and then the drop boxes, and then as you're leaving to your right is the full lobby with P.O. boxes for customers and our kiosk.
Okay. And so when he first came in, he was between the island and the door, is that correct?
Between the island and the front counter. I'm sorry, the door, yes.
The door.
The line, yes.
Okay. And what did you see him do next?
He was asking Beverly and the young girl to find the Article 7 poster, which describes when you can use cameras or videos inside the post office.
Okay. And that's not near your, where is which located?
It's actually right above the mail drops, right next to the counter that I was working at. I was at the furthest closest to the blue entry door and the drops. That's where I was working that day.
Okay. At some point did he come closer to you?
Yes. He did come around towards the front counter and saying that we were going to be educated, and I didn't quite know what he meant by that.
Okay. And so, was he camera still up at that time?
Yes.
Okay. And how did that make you feel as he came closer to you with that camera up?
Very uncomfortable and threatening. You never know for sure what someone might have on them, or if they are severely agitated, what they might do.
Okay.
So,
did he seem calm to you, or did he seem worked up?
He seemed worked up.
What makes you say that? What?
Because he repeatedly was engaging with customers walking in and telling them they didn't have to wear a mask, and that's its policy, not a law, and that he was there to educate us about.
So he was making statements with customers present. Was it disrupting your interactions with the customers?
Yes.
Okay. And at some point you called your supervisor, correct?
Correct. That would have been Stephanie.
Okay. And what was the tone like inside the lobby there at the post office when Stephanie came out?
It was still an agitated scene because I told them they could wait outside at one point. They didn't want to do that. They wanted to wait in the lobby. I did remind them that they weren't supposed to be videoing out by payment card readers, so that, created some friction there. When Stephanie came out, she just reiterated pretty much what our policy was with the masks and told them, you know, that if they're done with their business, that they should leave at this time.
Okay. But did they leave?
No.
Instead, what happened?
Instead, Stephanie said, well, if they aren't going to leave, that she was going to call the police department.
Objection, hearsay.
The objection will be sustained.
Okay.
By Miss Babcock's Poole.
So, what did, after Stephanie came out, you said nobody left? Where did you see Richard Wigginton go after his interaction with Stephanie?
He was walking around videoing with his camera, all different parts of the post office.
When you say walking around videoing all the parts, where was he?
He was in the front lobby on the other side of the island reviewing the cards that we have out for Hallmark. And he also walked around the front counter again right up towards Beverly, who had walked down towards her P.O. box, and then he came back.
Okay. So still walking all
Right.
over that front lobby.
Right.
You've described.
Yeah. Inside, not wanting to leave, even though their business was done, so.
Okay. And, Annette, have you reviewed the surveillance video that was captured inside the post office on May 18, 2021?
Yes, I have.
And when you viewed it, did it appear to be a fair and accurate representation of the events inside the post office on that day?
Yes, it did.
Okay. Your Honor, I would seek to admit People's Exhibit 1, which is the surveillance video from which Dan Rodriguez began foundation and Miss Turk just completed.
No objection.
All right. People's Exhibit 1 will be admitted without objection.
Okay. Thank you. No additional questions, Your Honor.
Okay. Attorney Jenks, any cross?
Cross-examination by Mr. Jenks.
Did my client, the defendant, ever go anywhere that was not publicly accessible?
No.
So he stayed in the lobby?
Correct.
Okay. You also stated that you believed he was approaching you threateningly. Was that what he said to you as far as being educated?
Correct.
Okay, but you felt threatened because you didn't really know what he meant by it, correct?
Correct.
Did he ever physically get in anyone's way to stop them from conducting business?
No. They were able to come to the front counter.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it was just. Was he speaking with Stephanie at that time, or was he still speaking with you?
He was actually in. He was speaking to all of us, you know? I'm going to educate all of you. And then he was also commenting on customers that were coming in with their masks, and kind of, you know, telling them why are you doing that? You don't have to. You know?
And were you, was anyone else at the back?
Everyone else was in back. Just the supervisors that
So
came
you were in
out.
charge of working the counter?
Correct.
Okay, would you say there was one customer in there at the time?
Actually, I had 2 customers come in shortly after, and then there was a third that came in.
Did they come in one at a time, or were they all there at the same time?
They came one at a time.
Okay,
But there was 2 waiting in the line at one time.
and you were able to help them and get them on their way,
Yes.
without any issues?
Pretty much other than.
No further questions.
Any redirect based on that?
Yes, please.
Redirect by Miss Babcock's Poole.
As Richard Wigginton was walking toward you with his camera up, how did that make you feel?
Uncomfortable.
And when he was standing even on that other side of the counter, so between the counter and the door with his camera up, how did that make you feel?
Again, uncomfortable.
And when he was directing comments behind the counter, whether that was to you or to Stephanie, how did that make you feel?
It felt threatening.
Okay. And did some of his actions interrupt your transactions with your customers?
The only thing would be having the video up toward the payment. I was advising customers to cover what they were doing with their cards because there was someone behind there with a video running.
Okay. All right. No additional questions, Your Honor.
Okay, Miss Turk, you may step down.
Okay. Thank you. All right. And, State, your next witness?
State calls Beverly Wigginton.